I have an abundance fund. I keep 12 months in the
I
bank
have 30
too.
years on you.
I know.
So who can show up more powerfully in business? Who's playing long game? I have 30 years of payments and options. I have 30 years of rent. I'm not tied to this house, as nice of a house as you have.
Yeah.
I have 30 years, dude.
But I have mine
You have
too.
1 year.
Okay, that's true. I do have 1 year in the bank, but again, remember, I use the first lien HELOC to pay off my house. So the whole thing's liquid if I need it.
It's liquid right now.
That's what I'm saying is I have the same
what's
principles
what's
you
more
do.
guaranteed? A bank giving you a first lien HELOC or money in a cash value life insurance policy or high yield savings account?
The savings account and the high yield and the cash value life insurance policy, for sure. However, once you pay off a home with a first lien HELOC, you now have access to that money that you've paid off.
This is part 2. We're going to be talking about paying off your house early versus keeping a 30-year mortgage. We'll even talk about velocity banking. Let's tee this up with, we were talking about retiring early, and you said something about, hey, I'm going to say something that you're not going to agree with, Caleb. And you talked about the peace of mind of paying off your house early.
Yeah.
And what I said was, and it might have surprised you, but I was like, I totally see it. There's no amount of ROI on being happy. There's no amount, like, if you have peace, do it. So there's people out there that are like, Caleb, I would feel grateful paying off my house and I would sleep better at night having my house paid off, and all that to say, amazing. Go for it. Like, I'm rooting for you. So like, I can say that, and you that might be surprising because like, and I even use the analogy of like having kids isn't efficient on paper, but like, you and I love our family, and I want to have as many kids as God will bless us with. Why? Because it's like there's something deep down inside of me that knows like 80-year-old Caleb will, like, that's the only thing that will matter. It's the only thing that will matter, and it brings me so much joy now. But yet it's not the most efficient. So I'll be the first to say that optimizing for efficiency is not the approach. Now this is what you said, which triggered me, is you're like, okay, well, I'm paying off my home this year, and I'm going to be able to show up more powerfully in business, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And we'll get into all of that. and this is where, and you might think, Caleb, you're being hypocritical. You're smarter than the average person. Like, I would consider you a lot smarter than the average person walking around. So I'm not talking to you the same way I would talk to a person out there, because I'm like, you have a company, you help people with retirement, and help me understand why paying off your mortgage is the route.
Okay.
Please.
Can I just set a little bit more framework before we dive in?
Yes, please. Yes.
The reason why you never lose is because you agree first, and then you compliment the heck out of somebody, and it makes it so hard to debate you.
Please.
But here's my favorite
You're
thing.
not going to win this, by the way, so please crush me.
You've been telling me this for years. So
you're gonna crush me.
Let's do this. I want one of those bells instead of the nation's first side. Like,
you're not going to win, but like, please.
Okay.
Please
thank
convince
you.
me.
I appreciate I love your confidence. And when Caleb and I met, we read each other's books. And the first thing you said to me when you walked into my house was, I totally disagree with you on your stance on being on. I was like, nice to meet you. Hey. So that's one thing that we disagree on. And what's cool about this video is we've privately on the phone had this debate many times over the years. And I have not changed my stance. In fact, I've doubled down and you've tripled down apparently. So here's why I want to pay off my house, Caleb. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to preface this by saying I view you as I know you hate this word. I'll try to use a different word. I view you as an incredible entrepreneur, right? Like, I was going to say successful, but you've built a company. You've built a company, you've scaled a company, you're growing a company. And I tell everybody, BetterWealth is the company to watch over the next 10 to 30 years. I tell every single person I meet that. I've not had a similar business experience, so I can't speak from the same place you can speak. I've had a business that failed, and I have lost my home. Yep. And I have had to go to my in-laws and my parents and look at my kids and my wife and tell them we're going to move and we're going to rent for a while. Going through that experience made me realize that going all in, burning the boats, these entrepreneurial taglines that we hear, these motivational things, they're not always right. And there is a consequence. Yep. And so my thought was this: when Jennifer and I buy the business, if I have a paid off home and I need very, very, very little to live my lifestyle, I can pour back into that company at a level that I would not be able to otherwise, because I have that level of security and that confidence. The other thing that gives me even more conviction, and again, I'm going to throw the math out the window. I don't care about the math.
Well, did I just win the debate?
No, you didn't win the debate, because again, it comes down to what are the priorities of the person, right? Okay. Yes, I'd be wealthier if I didn't pay off my home. I get that. The math, you're right on the math. You have the math on me. But what you don't have on me
I'm gonna
is
prove you wrong in your next point. But continue.
Okay.
Tell me what
you don't have on me is the fact that I know that when my family's good and we're good here, I can go all in, and I can be okay doing that and not over leverage like I did the last time. Because that's the one thing I've learned is you want to make sure that you have some things. If you have people counting on you, you want to make sure that's covered. Mm-hmm. And also what gives me more conviction, which my point I was saying earlier was, I've seen the benefit of people paying off their home pre-retirement.
Yeah, fair.
Their wealth explodes. It's not even close. They become so much wealthier because their time horizon changes. The way they think about risk changes. The way they invest changes. It just completely changes everything. Now they don't have a time horizon. It goes back to like when they were in their 30s. They can be much more successful investors and grow their wealth at a level that they weren't able to let themselves do while they knew they had this obligation. Please beat me.
Okay. Well, it's again, we're doing this for the clicks, being in each other's faces. But okay, so there's a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
So what I'm not saying is be over leveraged. Right. And let's for the moment, let's assume that we're talking about having the ability to pay off your house. Because I don't think it's fair to say apples to oranges by saying, okay, you're aggressively paying off your house, and I am in a house, I'm over leveraged, and I shouldn't be in there. True.
But also, give me the other side of that, which is I'm using velocity banking to pay off my house, which I believe is more efficient than.
That will be part 2.
Okay.
Where Caleb beats Danny. So we'll just pause that. We'll talk about velocity banking in a second. But let's talk about because it's important.
But I agree with you. Yeah, I can't just say you're over leveraged because you have a house. You should have appropriate leverage, right?
So for me personally, I am very conservative. That might shock you because we have a business that I'm proud of. We're continuing to grow, but I take risk. But I am very conservative for my age. Okay. The difference is my money is in cash value life insurance policies, high interest savings, and some investments that I feel pretty confident in. Okay.
Yeah.
So but I have enough money in liquid that I'm not going to use for business to pay off my house immediately. Okay. So just letting you know,
why though?
Why? Because the same concept of feeling safe is, I agree with you. I feel better.
That's my point.
Okay.
You have the same thing I have.
But my situation.
Mine's in a house. Yours is in a savings account.
Yours is in a house. Mine's in a savings account.
A savings account.
A savings / life insurance /
Yeah, and mine's in a first in HELOC, which is a savings / checking / goes.
So then tell me the rate of return that you're getting in your house.
I don't measure my success by rate of return. I don't know. I don't know what rate of return is.
So we're not. I just want you to know that what Danny and I are not saying, where most people are going to watch this, and debt enables them to make a bad decision. So I just want you to know, I am a fan. Just to be clear, for me personally, if I couldn't pay off a house or land in a few years, I'm talking ideally 1 year, but let's say 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I'm not making that purchase. That is we live so below our means. For the people that know what we do, they're like, you live in this type of house. I'm grateful for our house, but it's I never want to put myself in a place where I'm trying to cut a corner. So you and I, just hear me out. You and I are in the same boat when it comes to this mentality.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It just comes down to, okay, in making a decision. So when I make a decision, number one, we have to divorce ourselves from how we purchase something from what we purchase. So you and I both would agree that we're going to purchase something and we're not going to try to over leverage on that purchase. We're not going to justify this purchase because in the next 30 years we'll be able to pay for this. We want to have cash in the next few years to be able to pay for it if we want. Is that correct?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Because if you look at my real estate portfolio, I'm the opposite. I'm all leverage. And so let me tell you why though, okay? So if you look at my home, I want no leverage. If you look at my real estate, I'm almost 100% leverage on every property that I own. And I own several.
Yeah,
because
it's an investment in your emotion of it.
Because it's my girls. I don't need cash flow from it today. I look at my real estate like I look at my IRAs. I'm not going to touch the income from these things for 30, 40 years. So let me leverage all of it and get the tax deductions I want today to help my income so I can use that income to go buy more real estate.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Let's
I just want to disagree on that one point because I would never.
You're not anti-leverage.
No, I'm very pro-leverage.
And I am pro-leverage, but I'm probably more conservative than you would be. to like I personally don't have a real estate portfolio right now that's leveraged.
Yeah, you're smarter than me.
Well, no. You could look at business and there's not leverage that we have, but I would say we have a lot of team members, and you could say that speculating on different initiatives using team members could be a form of leverage. So we won't go down that road because we'll talk for days.
That's value leveraging, which is your thing. Yeah. But your impact with BetterWealth is greater than my impact with the real estate portfolio.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, let's continue because I really want to get to this point. So okay, when you're purchasing something,
thank you.
It's are you going to purchase this thing or not? Let's talk about a personal residence. If you're going to purchase a personal residence, you will want to be able to pay that off in a few years. Yes or no?
For me personally?
Yes, for you personally.
Yes, I would want to pay it off.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not going to make a purchase personally if I can't pay that off. I'm making this up at less than 5 years. Right. My personal home, I had the cash to be able to pay for it if I wanted to. Okay. So just to be clear. So then the second thing is, what is the most efficient way to purchase that? Now, when I think of efficiency, I think of three things.
Okay.
I think of risk. That might shock you. Caleb, what do you mean risk? That's the first thing I care about. Risk. What is the definition of risk? Your chance of loss, the unknowns that could come up. So risk is the thing that I care most about. The second thing is, how is this going to affect my current and future net worth? And third is, how is this going to affect my current and future cash flow? You ready to talk about all three?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about risk. Who's in a better position? We're not even talking about rate of return. Okay. Who's in a better position? We both have homes. Hypothetically, let's say our homes are worth $1 million.
Okay. So
just
same
hypothetically,
value.
Same value. Okay. You have all your money in a mortgage, or you paid off a house. You have no house payment. $1 million paid off. And let's give you the benefit of the doubt that you have a HELOC tied to that.
Yeah, it's the first lien HELOC.
First lien HELOC.
So that's also my savings account.
Okay. And what it costs about 7%?
In today's rates, yeah, it's 7.
7%, but it will fluctuate.
Yeah.
I have a 30-year mortgage.
Okay.
Okay. And instead, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that your cash flow that you're able to have gets invested or whatever you want to do with it to play. I'm just looking at from a risk management standpoint.
Okay. So you're saying that the money I would be paying towards my mortgage now goes to an investment.
Yeah, but we're not. This point, we're not talking about like I'm just.
We're talking about efficiency.
Yeah, we're just talking about risk. Risk.
Okay.
All I care about is risk. I want to be in the less risky move. I would not sleep well at night if all my money was tied up in the home, and hopefully you'll understand why in a second. So I have my money put aside. Now, a 30-year mortgage, when I got it, was right around 5%. I understand at the time of this recording, it could be higher. So let's say same interest rate at 7%.
Okay.
But you would be the first to say that 30-year mortgages, you probably could get a lower interest rate than a HELOC. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
give
it's
me
a
the
variable rate.
Yeah.
So we're talking risk.
Yeah.
Mine's definitely riskier from a rate perspective.
I agree.
Let's give you that point.
I now get to lock in my mortgage at, again, using my example, at 5%. Now, I know people that have it lower. I get to lock it in at 5%. The US dollar is getting less and less valuable because we are printing this. We're printing money. So now I have a financial tool that shorts the US dollar that we guarantee is getting less and less valuable. That's number one. Number two, I lock in my payment for the next 30 years. Inflation, that payment will never be more expensive than it is today. Number three, I have a pool of capital, because remember, we're playing apples to apples. I have a pool of capital. Let's just say it's only earning 5%. I'm not going to play the game. We'll talk about in a second opportunity cost.
Sure.
We'll blow you out of the water. We're talking about risk.
Yeah.
Let's say it's earning 4 or 5%. We know that life insurance policies, internal rate of return over a 30-year period can get us 3, 4, 5% whole life. So it's like, I don't feel like I'm over pitching the 3, 4, 5%. Okay. So over time, it just comes down to, do I have discipline not to go all in on a shiny object that I think is going to change the world? Like, I am not going to ever put my family and go all in on any one thing.
Never risk the kingdom.
Never risk the kingdom. So I feel more comfortable having access to cash over here that may or may not have it tied to a death benefit, to have other benefits for my family, but gives me options to, God forbid, if something happens to the business, to me, we have like 30 years of payments if we need. But what if your house gets mold? This actually happened to someone I know.
Mm-hmm.
Paid off their home, have mold. Guess the insurance companies, guess who doesn't want to help insure? So now they have a home. they can't live in. Insurance is doing nothing with it. They can't sell. They're well enough so where they figured out how to buy another home. And this person literally was like, I was the biggest fan of paying off your house. And this one example is why I now do, like just side account for that one. And we're just using mold. Another, what if I become disabled? I'm totally disabled. I can't work. Guess who doesn't like to loan money to people that don't have an income? Banks. The option number one is someone that is in their paid off house, but they don't have any income and they don't have any access to, they don't have a ton of money because all their money's in their home. And now they have less options. Whereas the person over here is, you're in a tough position. You have the option to pay. You have the option to let the bank take the house because there's less equity. You have the option to sell. You have more options. So like, I'm always going to go for the person that literally has more options. And I think from a risk management standpoint, the fact that the US dollar is going down, I'm not even talking about opportunity cost right now. I'm just literally talking about optionality. And who knows? Like, let's say there's crazy risk that happens and like the government collapses. Like, I'm getting super crazy now, but like, what if like where we live in Tennessee, like this just gets really bad and we need to like get our family out of there? I would rather have a crap ton of resources than be tied to a home. You know what I'm saying? A mortgage is literally like there's no other country in the world that has a 30-year, like the mortgage is such a dumb product for the only reason the mortgage works is they still allow it to happen. But normally a mortgage is a terrible, like local banks would never house a mortgage 30 years. They always sell it to these companies because it's way too much risk for them. Right. Like think about it. If we were a bank, you would never do a mortgage, give me all your money, and then 5% and over the next 30 years. Like I loaned a friend money the other day and they're going to pay it off in like 3 or 4 years. And I'm getting more than a 5% interest rate. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, oof, like I don't love the idea that I'm throwing all this, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like
I told you I'm going to pay you back, bro.
Yeah, no, that's not. So, but I know I'm going on a mini rant here, but like I'm not even talking. I'm not even talking about the rate of return or opportunity cost because you and I both know that I would blow you out of the water if we want to do speculation. That's why I'm caring so deeply about risk.
Okay, let's talk about
because you have more risk paying off your house, knowing what you know. Now, the reason I'm okay with the ordinary person paying off because they're not living this, but I hold you to a different standard.
Yeah, good. Hold me to a higher standard. Look, an American Airlines flight crashed last week. You're going to fly home in 2 days anyway, right? I'm not going to not get it on an airplane because 1 in a million times one crashes. Yes, some person got mold one time. I'm not saying that I don't care about their situation. I'm saying that statistically, I'm not going to not pay off my house because somebody got mold once that you've heard of, right? What I'm saying is...
But it's the principle. Talk to me of why. Well, if you had discipline,
but like, wouldn't you feel? You wouldn't drive a car.
If you had $1 million, if you had $1 million, you
wouldn't eat at a restaurant.
No. It's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about probability.
It's so unlikely.
You would rather have zero money in your. I'm for extreme. You would rather have zero money in your bank account and a paid off house, and I would rather have a 30-year payment and $1 million in a bank account.
But you're giving me zero money and you're getting $1 million in the bank. That's not.
But that's.
Oh, you're saying the value of the home is $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Well, no, I didn't say that. I said.
But I'm making the extreme because you are paying off your house this year, so you're essentially making that decision. Whether $1 million, this might not be $1 million home.
But my investment is my business.
Dude, you're gonna get smoked on part number 2.
Let me finish part number 1. Finish part number 1. So when I buy a business, I want to be able to pour cash and capital into that business at a level that I know I wouldn't be able to if I had to be accountable to my wife and kids for making a mortgage payment.
But dude, you have money on the side that you could make the mortgage payment for the next 30 years.
Yeah, that's
true. If you're
true.
already gonna pay off your house, why don't you just put that money aside and have it? Because you just have more options. Your family is more secure over here, especially if you do life insurance.
Which I have a ton of life insurance. Yeah.
I'm getting back because I just don't think I'm wrong on this.
I know, but we're talking about so many different
just wait till we get into velocity banking. Like you're gonna get like it's even worse.
Okay.
Math,
Let's calm down.
I'm totally calm, dude. I'm as cool as a cucumber.
I know. Let's talk about the risk thing first. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I don't think that you have less risk than I do for these reasons. Number one, if I become disabled, what am I borrowing money for? Why do I need to be qualified to borrow money from a bank? If I have What
to
do I
eat. What's going to bring in groceries? I know you
my
have
disability policy.
okay, you have disability.
Right. I'm a risk management fan too.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have to understand
Use the
how many
right
people that pay
risks.
off their house early have DI policy. Nobody. No, but dude, like DI is an amazing product.
Okay.
Nobody has DI.
Okay, I know it's very well. If you work, you have DI, but again, so you would be covered through your work if you're an employee.
Not everyone.
Not everybody if you don't sign up for it. But anyway,
But let's say I have DI too. So
okay,
you just
so you have DI, you're covered, you're good. So that takes care of that one.
I just find it like, do you like talk to me and what like why am I like from a family standpoint? I get the peace of mind that you feel. And I can't trump that. So if you're like, I feel better having a paid off home, great.
And that's
I'm not
all
gonna,
it comes down to.
But I hold you to a different standard.
I know, but again, I also hold myself to a different standard. And again, I share with you my mission before this video. I want to pour the next 50 years of my income into serving widows. And I feel like I can do that at a much higher level. I personally can show up and work my butt off for the next 50 years to build this mission so that way, I can serve at a higher level. So I am holding myself to a higher level, but I feel like that is something that helps me do that.
And so let's talk about your business. You will feel when this house is paid off, you're going to feel so much better going all in on your business because you have a peace of mind to say, hey, at least they're not going to take the house. Ironically, you still have to pay property taxes. So do you really own the house? That's a whole other story. Okay. But I would feel better.
I keep 12 months of saving. I have an abundance fund. I keep 12 months in the bank
I have 30 years on you.
I know.
So who can show up more powerfully in business? Who's playing long game? I have 30 years of payments and options. I have 30 years of rent. I'm not tied to this house, as nice of a house as you have.
Yeah.
I have 30 years, dude.
But I have mine
You have
too.
1 year.
Okay, that's true. I do have 1 year in the bank. But again, remember, I use the first lien HELOC to pay off my house. So the whole thing's liquid if I need it.
It's liquid right now.
That's what I'm saying is I have the same
what's
principles
more guaranteed? A bank giving you a first lien HELOC or money in a cash value life insurance policy or high yield savings account? Well, what's more guaranteed?
No, the savings account and the high yield and the cash value life insurance policy for sure. However, once you pay off a home with a first lien HELOC, you now have access to that money that you've paid off.
According to who?
From the beginning of the balance.
To the bank that has the bank that could change the rules.
Yeah, but it's written in the agreement, in my loan agreement.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, we're talking risk management.
Okay.
Who's more risky? You banking on the bank? Oh, have the banks ever screwed anyone? Oh, let me see. Let's see. 2008. How many people were glad that they
You just told me you have 30 years of expenses in the bank.
I'm saying in this hypothetical example.
Right. We're both trusting banks. You keep capital in a bank. I keep capital in a bank.
So I think it's totally different from a bank from a lending standpoint.
I'll give you that.
Versus like FDIC and shit.
Sure.
But it's just, it could be.
I'm open to having my mind change and being wrong, but here's why I'm not. And I'll share this with you.
I'm open to having my mind change, but here's why I'm not.
But you haven't answered this for me yet, okay? When you use the first lien HELOC, the all-in-one, I have access to money that you don't have access to. You can't touch your operating account. My operating account works for me every single second of every single day. I literally have a huge, and my cash flow is important. When you have the kind of, and you said you hold me to a different standard, when you have the kind of cash flows we have, if you don't take advantage of that, I think that's a mistake.
Okay, so how much money do you have access to in your home through your first lien?
It's 90% loan to value, and the home's worth $750,000.
Okay, so let's keep
$685,000 or
whatever.
Keep
the $1 million example.
Okay.
So
900,000.
Okay, you have 900,000, and how confident are you that the next 30 years the bank won't change the rules on the first lien? Is it fair to say that they could change?
Oh, the banks could nationalize the bank. If you read your checking account and savings account statement, they can take custodialization of your assets. But
there's a difference between a HELOC and a
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
there's a huge difference between a HELOC and a life insurance policy.
You're saying that you actually have more flexibility because over time, the 30-year approach, I am putting money, and I might get to a place 20 years in that I have more money tied up in equity, and technically you have access to 90%. Is that fair?
I'm trying to get back to the fact that we're doing the exact same thing for the same principles. We're arguing over the way we're doing it.
Yeah, you just feel a lot more comfortable than I do banking on a HELOC.
There's no difference between your situation and my situation. You have the money sitting aside, I have the money sitting aside. And they're both for the sake of making sure that our debts are covered so we can pour into our business.
Yeah, but it's just where that money is housed.
And that's what I'm saying. We're arguing over something smaller than the principles.
That's the whole purpose of this video. It's like I think
Okay,
that
but let's
having
go
your
back.
money
Wait.
in your home with a HELOC
Is riskier.
Is riskier. We haven't even got to opportunity cost, Danny. Is riskier than my money, even in a life insurance policy or in a high yield savings account.
I will agree with you to the standpoint that if the market crashes or we see an 08, yes, mine is substantially riskier than yours.
Not even if it doesn't crash.
Okay, there's an argument for that too. I agree.
No, literally, like, because from a poker standpoint,
Yeah.
there's more ways for you to lose than me. If I was disciplined. Now here, let me talk to you about where I blow my plan up.
Okay.
And this is why, for ordinary people, I'm totally good with them paying off their home, and here's why.
What do you define as an ordinary person?
I don't. Well, it's just like a lot of people are. If you're watching this, you're not ordinary. Okay. Sorry. But hear me out.
Yeah.
The
Are
reason
you saying
why
not in the financial industry?
not in the financial industry, but like not watching videos like this.
Okay.
If you pay off your house, it's a forced savings tool, and you can be your greatest asset, but you can also be your greatest liability.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So by you forcing yourself to pay off your mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
you're forcing yourself to not overspend, and like, great, because at the end of the day, you're going to spend the difference. If by having this money over here, I'm so tempted to go put it all into a business or put it into Bitcoin or put it all these things because it's going to go to the moon. That's like, yeah, you could. That's gambling at this point. And so where my plan blows up is from a discipline standpoint. If you have a slight urge of like gambling, you probably would be better off having your money in your home where it's harder to access, which is the same reason I don't love having my money in the home. Is it's harder to access.
Right.
But that can be an advantage if you're not even a train wreck, but if you get the urge of like wanting to use it.
Yeah, and let's go. I agree 100% with what you just said. Let's go back to the very beginning of this conversation. You're a disciplined, conservative entrepreneur who's done a phenomenal job of building a business, and I am a person who's taken risks to the level where I've actually lost my home.
Are you saying that if you had money in a side account that was for your family, that you would risk that?
No.
So, I mean, dude, you have a HELOC that if you wanted to do the same thing, you could take 90% out of your
Yeah, what I'm saying is we're trying to accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
I just accomplished mine much faster than you because I use velocity banking. I get to a place of abundance faster than you get to a place of saving that money in the bank because of the principles of velocity banking.
Before we get into velocity banking, two other points. You'll agree with me with net worth and cash flow that my way wins.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we don't even have to go down.
That's not even an argument.
But
that was never what I was arguing.
Did my points on risk? Did I make any interesting points?
Very valid points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about velocity banking.
Well, I wouldn't do that because I don't.
Pitch your point.
But I don't pitch. That's what I'm saying. It's like it comes down to the person. You're not the right person for velocity banking. Obviously, I am.
Dude, the reason I don't like that. Because I want to know what's from an efficiency standpoint, and this I told you risk, net worth.
Okay,
and
let's look at. But
tell me why.
I'm not just talking about velocity banking. I'm talking about the all-in-one specifically. The all-in-one is your checking, savings, and home and mortgage in one account.
Checking, savings,
and mortgage one account.
Yeah.
You have yours as checking, saving, and mortgage 3 different accounts. You're
way more diversified. Not gonna let one bank change the rules, and my whole
I agree.
So continue.
I agree. So you're more diversified. We've covered risk. We're talking about the principles of velocity banking.
Tell me on the principles of velocity, because what you're gonna realize is, Matt, you can't just make up funny math.
I'm not making up funny math.
So let's hear me out.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Tell me why your 7% loan is better than my 5% loan.
Because it's not the same interest rate calculation.
No, you're wrong.
Mine's an average daily balance. Yours is an APR. They're not the same. You can't compare the two. I can manipulate mine in ways you can't. You want to talk about options and risk? I can shrink mine down way faster than you can shrink yours because you have 30 years of interest standing in front of yours.
Yeah, but dude,
do the math on your effective interest rate payment on your mortgage.
This is why I'm saying this out of love. You know better. You know better. If you're comparing because the whole deal with the 30-year mortgage is I have to pay for my house twice. Let's just say over a period.
If you don't refinance, the average person refinances 5 times in their lifetime.
Don't care. Here's why. Because we have to. Right now. If you're comparing my 30-year picture, you have to do the same exact apples to apples comparison on your 30-year picture.
Okay, that's fine. But you can't compare them because what if?
No, you can. It's all opportunity costs. But
what is the value of me making an investment in my business that 1,000x's that I wouldn't have made if I was too scared because I was operating at a place of scarcity from trying to keep my home? That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
is it's hard to compare because
Yeah.
you have that entrepreneurial thing in there. It's
Yeah.
not like I have a wage and I have a home. Yes, the math, you'll always win. You're right. I surrender to that. You will win on the math. I've said that.
You heard it.
Okay. From a long-term wealth building perspective.
So why do you think it's a good idea to debate Todd and I?
Because we will get to our result faster than you guys will. And you didn't let me finish.
Okay, finish. Yeah, hear me out.
You have a checking, a
I'll hear
savings,
you.
and a
Yep.
home
Yep.
equity.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yep.
by the way, I'm not the only one that feels this way. Most of the mortgages in other places in the world are structured more like first lien HELOCs than 30-year fixed.
I know that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm saying it's like this is an amazing deal. The reality is the reason why most countries.
And I feel like
no,
you should know better saying that it's an amazing
The
deal.
reason why most countries can't do that.
Yeah.
Most countries have like balloons after 5. They have like they can't lock in 30 years interest at a certain rate. Like, dude, do you realize
These
how
are developed
incredible
countries.
of a tool
These are
that is?
developed countries, though. These are like the UK, Australia. I'm not talking about like,
No, that's
like a place with hyperinflation or something like that. I'm talking about these are like,
that's what I'm saying is like most countries can't do that.
Right.
Because why? It's too risky.
Right.
If that tells you it's too risky, that just makes my point. My point.
If you're living in Venezuela, yeah, then
No. I'm not. I mean, I'm saying like a third. So from a risk standpoint, would I rather know my numbers for the next 30 years, or have the unknown? Like if God forbid an interest rate spike to 25%, which has happened in other countries, you're wiped out. So I'll pay a premium to lock it in for 30 years. The fact of the matter is most loan products won't even allow that. The fact that the U.S. does, like, why in the world wouldn't you do that? The whole point of like the fact that the U.S. has a 30-year mortgage, that's not because they're trying to screw people. That's because we have the best, like, we're lucky for this. The reason why small banks could never do that is like small banks could never do a 30-year mortgage. The only reason they get to do that is they get to sell their mortgage to a mortgage-backed security. Now, is that a good idea for the United States? Probably not.
Well, yeah, there's proof
Like,
that can be
I actually don't think that's
deregulated.
great for the United States, but the fact that it's available, why wouldn't we use it? So continue.
I will say this. I have the privilege. I run 25 meetings a week. I sit with millionaires every day of the week. I have yet to meet a millionaire who keeps personal debt. I've yet to meet one.
Do I have personal debt if I have cash over here with a mortgage that I could pay off like this? Am I in personal debt?
You're in personal debt.
Do you realize that the U.S. dollar is a form of debt?
Yeah.
When you says Federal Reserve note?
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, when I look at millionaires that I get to serve every day, they use debt wisely.
Yeah.
They never keep it on their home.
And this same thing that Dave Ramsey does. He's like, he's got a study that he's done. Great.
Yeah.
I'm not disagree with that.
Yeah.
But just because everyone's jumping off the cliff doesn't mean it's good. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. No, that's
like,
true.
I'm saying we know better. That's what. I don't want to like disrespect people by saying ordinary. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm not.
It's like,
I agree
of course.
with you. But what I'm saying is, if you want to look at wealth and you're looking at the people who have the wealth, there must be a pattern there. There must. And when you come back to velocity banking, this is why I think it's funny. Okay. The reason why I think that
Can you explain velocity banking in like 2 minutes? Just to get, because we're saying velocity banking. Some people are watching. It's using a HELOC.
It's using time and balance to pay debt off faster. That's all it is.
You put all your money into your HELOC. It drives down the balance.
Not necessarily. Velocity banking encompasses a lot of different tools. But what it comes down to, what my definition of velocity banking is, using time and balance wisely to amortize debt down quicker. That's velocity banking to me. And so when it comes to my wealth and my savings, I want to get as much money into my business as fast as possible. That's my best investment. So if I can pay down my house as quickly as possible, I can now pour much more money into my business. Keep in mind, I know you have a lot of different perspectives on it, but what I'm saying is, because my income is really good and I have this cash flow, if I'm not taking advantage of the cash flow that flows through the bank to amortize that debt down quicker, I'm missing out on an opportunity. What does the bank do? Who gets the... I've heard you say this before. Who gets the money before you do? The bank. What do they do with it? They make money with it. That's float. I take advantage of my float. You don't get a chance to do that.
No, dude, you're who's paying more money in the bank faster, you or me? You're literally making my point.
I am my own bank.
No, you are your own bank by paying all your money to the bank.
I get to take advantage of the checking account that's tied to that bank.
You ready to actually do math?
Let's do some math.
Okay. So your HELOC's 7% right now.
Okay.
It is 7%?
7%.
7%. Okay. So let's talk about if the sole goal is to pay off my house fast. If my sole goal is to get into my business and I want to make sure that I'm not carrying personal debt. Is that the goal?
That's the goal.
My goal, yeah. My goal is to, I hear you saying is I want to have the house paid off.
Yep.
And what I'm going to say just for this example is house paid off or have the equivalent to pay off your house. Fair?
Yeah, I think that's what we're
that's
talking
fair.
about. Yeah.
Okay. So person number one, you have a 7% HELOC.
Yeah.
7%. So it's costing you have 7% of friction right now. Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
7% of friction. You are aggressively paying your house, okay, into that. It's costing you 7% for that loan. Okay. For me, I have a 5% mortgage, and instead of all the money that I'm aggressively paying for that, I'm putting into a high yield savings account. Let's just say it's 4%.
Okay.
Let's just say it's 4%. Okay. So you're over here, you're putting money into your 7% HELOC, and your goal is to get paid off as fast as possible to be able to go into your business. I am over here, 30-year mortgage, 5%, and I'm just going to put the difference between, so I have 2% on you, and I'm just going to put the difference and put it into a side account. I guarantee you, because math does not lie, I would have more money faster and be able to start my business faster than you putting all into the mortgage.
But
here's
that's
why.
what I'm saying. You don't
7%.
understand. It's not the same interest rate. I have a lower payment than you do because you have principal as part of your payment.
Why do you care about payment? You're trying to pay off your house as fast as possible.
Because
so
you're talking about saying that I have 7% and you have 5%. So you're saying that you have 2% extra that I do to put in your business sooner.
No. I'm not even saying business. I'm saying side account.
Put it in a side account.
That's
not accurate. My payment is lower than your payment.
So
I have more money faster because it's interest only. So
okay,
because my payment's lower,
your whole goal is,
and my payment drops every time I pay my mortgage. My payment goes down, my balance goes down, and the interest I owe goes down, and my liquidity goes up every single mortgage payment.
Here's the thing, and this is where we're gonna.
You're drowning money for 30 years.
No, dude, like,
like I don't get it.
Okay, so we almost need to use
look at
basic.
That. Every time I make a mortgage payment, my balance goes down, my principal goes down, my interest costs go down, my payment goes down, and my liquidity goes up.
Just so you know how
I don't understand.
No. If you, let's just say your HELOC was 3% and I was at 5%, I would be 100% in favor of your doing the HELOC.
But you're
no.
making
Just hear me out here. I don't flip flop on funny math. I'm looking at.
Are you saying I'm using funny math?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You are. I love you. You're using funny math.
I love you too, but I'm saying you're not accounting for the difference between what an average daily balance is and an APR. They're different. They're not the same interest rate.
Dude, one institution is loaning you money at 7%.
Wait, just go back to that.
And one other
they're not the same interest rate. That's why mine wins in some cases.
Okay.
I'm not saying I win all the time.
Okay.
There's plenty of times I said you just won. But in some cases I will win.
So you would say
for the right person.
You would say, and we're going to do part 2 to this, and we're going to I'm dead serious.
Are we still
I will
going
not
to dinner after this?
I'm not going to lose this. I promise you.
I know.
We're going to do a part 2, probably not in the studio, probably when we're back home.
Okay.
And we're going to do scenario number 1.
Okay.
Danny, you use your same exact numbers. Your goal is if all you cared about was a small payment.
Yeah.
There's a world to say that a HELOC interest only would be a smaller payment than. So
it's every world, by the way.
What?
It's every scenario.
Okay, so there's a world where
unless your interest rate's like 2% and you're using 8%.
And so the reason why
that's not every world.
So then why does Caleb want to pay a higher payment than that? Because I 30-year mortgage is the greatest debt tool in America. So I'll pay a little bit of premium to lock that in for 30 years, but that's a separate conversation. I promise you, dude.
This is so fun. Thank you.
I promise you.
Thank you.
I promise you.
Okay.
That if you have your scenario versus my scenario, and you allow me to have a 4 or 5% more 30-year mortgage, and I save the difference in a 5% side account.
Okay.
and you have your 7% HELOC that you're aggressively paying off, and the whole goal is to either have a paid off home or have enough cash over here to be able to jump to start your business, I guarantee you I win.
All right, do I get to count like the money
Same
that
cash
I
flows.
save?
No, we have to. It has to be identical.
No, identical. But I'm saying, like,
Because-
once my house is paid off, do I get to count that towards my savings for the next 30 years? In our example,
Yes, but it has to
Okay.
earn at 5%.
my savings account.
Yes.
Okay.
To keep apples to
Okay,
apples.
let's run the numbers.
You will lose.
I'm very willing to accept that. Because what it comes down to is it makes me feel
Great.
like I can take risk at a higher level.
Yeah, but
And-
this
and
is
there's
this,
no
this is
math
where
to
we'll
that.
land. Well,
There-
yeah,
you
but
can't- you
dude,
can't
but
dispute-
a
that's where
feeling.
math
Okay,
doesn't
here's the
matter.
thing about a feeling.
Yeah.
I hold you to a different standard because you could feel that you're safe, but if you weren't actually safe, is that feeling rooted in logic, or is that feeling just making you feel good?
It may just making you feel good.
So
But
if there was a way that your family could actually be like, if there was a way to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish
Yeah.
and be better off,
Yeah.
I'm not saying, by the way, I think velocity banking works. I think that there's a lot of, like, for example, believe it or not, if I wanted to be more aggressive and have an interest only payment, and I'm okay with like not locking my debt in at 30 years, I would do velocity. I would do a HELOC, pay interest only, put the rest into investments in business. The reason I don't is of my conservative nature and risk. So we're saying the same stuff.
We are. That's the thing. We're saying
But
the same kinds of
But
things.
here's the deal.
We
I'm
just
not.
have a different end.
If I'm talking to somebody who's not going to be watching these shows, who's not going to be going down the rabbit hole, pay off your house, because the last thing I want anyone. I don't want you to change your behavior because I'm saying so. But dude, you're in this space. Like, you run numbers, you crunch numbers, and so if there was a better way for you to have less risk, have more net worth, and have more cash flow, why wouldn't you do that? And I'm telling you, you can do that. Now, velocity banking, hell of a marketing pitch. It gets people. It's the same thing with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey gets people so fired up to pay off debt. He's bettering people. He's straight up bettering people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to say like Dave.
And
he's
I'm not
paying
in
off
his
debt.
camp by any means.
But you
I'm not
actually
saying
are
that.
by this logic.
Well,
Like, you're saying you're not in his camp, but you're then telling me you feel better paying off your mortgage.
yeah, I'm not saying I'm in his camp with all of his philosophies is what I'm saying. I'm saying in this area, I think that, but where I'm not in his camp is he's saying go get a 30-year fixed mortgage and pay off your home. What I'm saying
No,
is
he's not even saying that. He's 15.
15.
And
Sorry,
would
he's
you rather
using
have a
15.
15 or 30? I would rather have a 30.
I'd rather have a 30 or 15
because
too.
it gives
more
more
options.
But
more
dude,
flexibility.
but yet you'll have a HELOC, which
But
is a 1 year.
I think the HELOC gives you even more options than the 30-year fix, bro.
Okay,
So that's why I'm not in his camp, because I'm saying use the first lien HELOC to pay off your
Here's the
house.
deal.
He doesn't agree with that.
here's the deal.
Yeah.
If I promise you
Okay.
that this will work, and this is what will blow your mind.
Okay.
My 30-year mortgage, if I wanted to pay off my house faster,
Yeah.
I could do it faster with a 30-year mortgage than your HELOC.
No, that's where you'll lose.
Okay,
Same cash flows?
same cash flows.
No. You're not accounting for the extra
At-
money
at
you get
the-
to
at
take
the
into
fi-
account.
at the 5%.
At the 5% rate.
At the 5% savings.
You're saying same cash flow. You have 5% 30-year fix. I have a HELOC. You'll pay off yours faster.
Yeah.
That's where I win.
Okay,
gonna
I'll
run the
be
numbers.
willing to lose this one.
Okay.
I'll be willing to
That's
lose
where
this
I
one.
will win, and that you will win on long-term wealth every time. There's no scenario where
but
you
let's
don't.
run the math
'Kay.
because I'm not convinced I'm going to lose. Because
Okay,
you're
I know you're not. We've been having this argument for 5 years.
I can't wait to crunch the numbers.
I love it. I can't wait. I know.
All right.
Did anybody win or lose?
Here's
what can they take away from this?
Here's my
What's-
takeaway.
Yeah.
If you want to pay off your house, do it.
Okay.
Do it. Like, do not do it just because I'm not, like, do what you want to do.
Sure.
But don't be ignorant. That's all I'm saying. And like,
Well said.
actually look at not just rate of return, not just cash flow, but look at risk. And I would, if I could just get a higher net worth and cash flow, but I'm taking on more risk, I'm not doing it. That's why I like whole life. Like, I could do other things. There's a lot of things I could do that probably are easier to sell that pay me more. Reason I love whole life is less risk. So I'm not someone sitting in this channel seat that's like saying you're an idiot because of you should be more risky. I'm actually making a point that you will have less risk, more net worth, more cash flow, more options. And for the person that's really willing to lean in and actually willing to lean in, hence why reverse mortgages are a tool in someone's toolbox that only works if you use this logic. I also have, like, I'm in a place where I'm like, if people aren't willing to go down this rabbit hole and they'll feel like, do whatever makes you feel better. But health is a good example. You might feel good eating your diet and go for it. Like, why would you listen to someone like me saying you're going to die early? Like, don't listen to me. But if you have enough humility to actually lean in and say, like, should I eat Cheerios every day? Like, maybe that's not the thing that I actually should do. And that's all. That's where this conversation's coming.
Yeah.
This is not like, I think Dave Ramsey leaves the average person way better off for following his advice, because they will be a train wreck if they do other things, and they are their greatest asset, but they're also their greatest liability. But for talking to a more sophisticated person, especially who's an entrepreneur, that's where I'm just like, hey, if we're willing, we can accomplish the same thing that we want to accomplish. I think we can do it better with more options.
Dude, I love your point of view, and I love your humility. And selfishly, I entered into this because, and the reason I keep challenging you on this is I want to grow and learn too, right? Yeah. I still feel like I'm right, but I want to be proven wrong, because it gives me an opportunity to grow, and that helps me serve more people. And I agree with so many things that you said, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for your position. I just think we're looking at it from a different lens.
Yep, and just to tease this, we're going to sit down with Denzel. You may be a part
This should come out before that video.
I agree.
Yeah.
You, Denzel, I believe, versus Todd Langford and myself. And it's going to be fun. And we're going to crunch numbers. And that's where, if we haven't already, we need to get examples before we sit down. Okay. So that's not this, that we're actually showing math. So let's make it a goal. You and Denzel get a case study. Okay. And then we'll do actual cash flow for cash flow and truth concepts. Yeah. And it will be fascinating to see the difference. And I'll be the first to, I am totally okay being wrong.
I am okay being wrong too. Okay. I'm so grateful for you for doing this with me. Thank you. Hey, love you, bro. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.